I'm Renee Fry. I'm the CEO and one of the founders of Gentreo. We help everyone with estate planning, but not just getting your documents done, making sure that for all the times that you need those documents, you have what's there with your digital vault, and you have the ability to connect to your family and to your loved ones so that everyone gets to use your documents and information. And in 1 year, we've added a bunch of other services as well, whether it's life coaching or now even funeral planning insurance. We've grown a great deal and are happy to be here and excited to celebrate 1 year with you. My computer's a little worse from the wear since that's all we do now is use computers, but everything else is going great. Nice to
Hi,
be
my
here.
beautiful Renee. How are you?
Good, yeah. So I have to tell you, like, it's been quite the year, huh? I have a
It's you know
9-year-old
I
who's
love it. I'm doing the full. With groups of people and with individuals, a whole year of this podcast, but a whole year of finding out where you are now. So this is your time. There's not any major Q&A here, but I want to know what happened. So I
yeah, no,
spoke
no.
to you in April of 2020, and now we're like literally hitting the full year of the pandemic. So what was your year like?
Yeah, I was gonna say I have a 9-year-old who now is a tech guru, right? Who is the next founder of Microsoft in the making. But from the Gentreo perspective, oh my gosh, we've gotten to add so many great people. One of the things that when pandemic first started, were a number of people were on the beach, right? They had opportunities and they said, hey, can we come work with you? And we have been so lucky, just whether it's been folks on the business development side or people from the marketing efforts, we've gotten to bring on just absolutely fantastic people that have helped us grow in so many different ways. And so one of the biggest things is probably through our partnerships. So in that regard, very lucky to have access to talent that we probably wouldn't have thought we could get in the past. And two, they love working here too, thankfully. So that helps them as well. So it's been great in that regard.
Well, when you're saying like it goes, so resources that you never thought you would have gotten. So again, we spoke in April 2020, and you were focusing so much on getting family members prepared because family members were in the hospitals, and you were this is like what you were living with, where family members are like ventilator. Not, I remember that clearly when you said that, ventilator or not ventilator, and I didn't have to go back and listen to it. I remember it like crap. Which one, ventilator or no ventilator? I go, are we planning properly? I mean, is the state? I mean, just to know that if I die and I don't have anything ready, the state's gonna be in charge of so many things. So you dropped in so many different pieces of knowledge then. So you've added so many more things because of what you saw. And
Oh yeah.
how did the people find you? I mean, like how you've been very, very diligent about talking on podcasts and being in the media. I mean, I've watched you. I mean, you've been on top of it, communicating the story of taking care of your family, which has been amazing. So what were people finding you through that way? And did you add more resources because things started going wrong for people?
Yeah, so spot on. So one, we've done a few AP News articles by Harrow, Help a Reporter Out. So I'd encourage all of your users who have companies, make sure you subscribe to Harrow. But some of the things they don't maybe not have a backlink to Gentreo, but sharing the story of, for instance, like caring for my father with Alzheimer's during all of this, or kind of what we've had to go through. Like my grandmother passed away from COVID in December, and she had just turned 98 years old. And this was a woman who had been through so much in her life. And we're like, oh, she'll make it through COVID. And then unfortunately, it didn't. And then while she'd planned a grand funeral, it ended up being my mom, my aunt, and a priest. And that was it. And so you're exactly right. All the things that you're seeing in Gentreo have been things that, all of us are living through in these times, right? The life coach is coming on. It was something around Gentreo for us means 3 generations, because so many people are like ourselves. You have older parents that you're caring for, other relatives. I have a 9-year-old son, so it's that 3 generation thing. But it was so many things that people were living through, where it wasn't just a one and done piece of paper, right? It wasn't just that will, or it wasn't just getting the healthcare proxy right, which making sure you want a ventilator is still relevant. But it was really what goes on around all those life inflection points. And so we spent a whole bunch of time around, maybe it's you're getting married, maybe you're getting divorced, for parents, it's kind of that first sign of when you see that people are aging. What is the impetus to get people prepared? And usually when they get started on that path, it's not just their estate planning documents, but it's other services that they need as well. And so that's helped Gentreo grow, but really because the customers have demanded that and asked for these types of services. And we sometimes, I will tell you, is I don't think people, when they send you a note, know that there's real people that read the emails, right? So we get lots of incredible emails that I still, in it anyway, and sometimes you feel, you're so sad for the people writing the notes. Others are just plain funny because you're like, okay, I'm a real person reading this. But one of a couple of the services that we came up with are because of a lot of the notes and the requests that we were getting from people unsolicited around, okay, I got these documents down. What do I do now? What's my next step? How do I do this? Everything in this world is so busy. Can you just help me get down to the pathway that we need to take? And so that's where we really spent a lot of time with Gentreo on helping with a guided pathway of making sure people understand that, these are some of the decisions that you should be looking at. These are some of the options, and let's get you to a place where you can make those decisions, feel good about that, and help protect your family.
What, when you are bringing in team members, I think that people have been talking about so much where they lost a lot of staff, but then you hear the positive of people like, I'm growing my team because there's a need for it. What should people look for? Because during this time, a lot of people were at home and they realized, I really don't like my job. Don't like my job, hate my job, hate my job. And I'm home, and yet right now I'm getting paid. And this is the best time of my life because I can actually take time and decompress from the place that I'm working and I'm getting paid, but I'm decompressing at the fact that I want more for myself. I want to add more value to society through what I'm doing. So the people that you added on that found you, the people that even helped you where individuals that are helping you grow your business that you thought you were never going to find, these people had time to decompress and they found you. How did you find working with them? How did you find ways to, this is my business, this is my love.
Yeah.
Are you doing this just for the fun of it because we're in COVID? Or are you doing this because you really believe in it and you're here to stay with us?
Yeah. Or just the fact that you got laid off and you need a job, right? That's
that
one of the big ones too.
Yeah, that too.
So the first thing as a company we did was we identified what are our needs, right? As we grow, what is it that we're looking for? What's that next spot that we should be filling in? And then trying to figure out if some of the folks that reached out to us, is that first a good fit? You need to first make sure that that's a good fit for you, because you could bring on someone who's a wonderful, fantastic person, but if the fit isn't right and you lose time as a company, they don't feel good, it might hurt your relationship. So that's things that you really have to deal with upfront and first. And then the second part is we try to be upfront with folks around saying, hey, this is a startup. It could go feel like, well, things are going great. Things can take a wild turn and go down. Are you ready for a startup? Because some of the folks came from bigger companies where they're a little more used to that kind of staid approach and more predictability. Whereas in a startup, it's a lot, hey, hi, no, hi, no. You just don't, it's not that steady middle ground that a lot of folks are used to. So we got better at talking to folks about helping them understand what is a startup versus what were they coming from if they came from a large organization. And then we also help people set goals and make sure with milestones that we're having conversations so that it was right for Gentreo, but then also for them.
Where do you want to go next? Because things are starting to open up. A lot more people are starting to get vaccinated. A lot of people are still afraid because they're just trying to figure out what does this mean to get vaccinated. And again, not a lot of, I feel like a lot of people want to, but they're just you know what? So many things went so fast that I'm just I just want to be cautious because I want to live that life. I want to live that healthy life without having a backlash of something. Where do you see your company going from this point out? Because you just said it, you are still a startup. And I think that people forget, people think a startup is a millisecond. I go, startup could be 4, 3, 5 years, 7, it could be 10 years, because I go overseas and when I hear the word startup, it's not like I'm at Starbucks and I'm coming up with an idea because I couldn't get into grad school. A startup could be 10 years because they're still trying to figure out the wheel. So as a startup company that's getting a lot of traction, where do you go? Where do you see you and your team going as the world starts opening up and become a little, I don't even, the word normal is just such a weird word. I think you
No,
need
the
to use the
new
word.
normal. It's a new normal, right?
Yeah.
It's a fantastic time that we're living in because we just witnessed where the world changed.
Mhm.
And Bob Posen, who you know as well, just wrote a
Yep.
fantastic
We
book
love Bob.
called Remote Ink that comes out in April. That I hope that anyway. I get
I
mentioned.
have to have him on because to talk about that too.
You
So
really do, but it's this whole thing of where we're going to stay home a little bit, we're going to work a little bit at the office, but the world has changed, right? And so for us, we benefited in the fact that like we're doing a lot more with employers now, offering Gentreo as a service so that
oh,
families not just get their healthcare proxies or their wills done, but now they have this resource. So just like when people are having a baby, there's lots of resources. Now we're looking at the end of life set of resources that folks work with. So working with more and more companies to provide Gentreo as an employee benefit. And then some of the partnerships that we're really excited with, as well as with a number of credit unions. So the New England Credit Union Association, they have 6 million members. We just did a partnership with them to go out across the 200 some credit unions across New England so as to provide these benefits to their members at affordable prices, because so many people weren't protected, aren't protected, or even if they tried to get protected, can you find your documents? Can your family know where to find things and putting things together? So taking advantage of the fact that because we have a new normal and so many people are more apt to use digital resources like a Gentreo now, how do we work with larger institutions that want to make sure they're still relevant? And that's something that we've spent a lot of time with and are really excited about the people we've gotten to work with that are open to these things and just really getting out in front of people around saying, yep, let's get you protected. Let's take care of all these things. And let's make sure we build that relationship to stay with you. And that's something a lot of these partners have worked with us on as well. And they're helping us graduate out of our startup phase into now just becoming a part of the landscape. So it's been exciting for us.
You know what? I think that's like one of the things that is huge because you've been, I mean, look, I met you when we were in Governor Romney's office. I go, you've done corporate, you've done education, you've done so much. And this is something that I'm like, now that you said it out loud, I'm like, oh, duh, of course. This is exactly where you should have been all along because it makes sense. Because we have, when you're in corporate, you have the gym memberships, you have all these different services because they want to, you're working all the time. They have laundry service, they have daycare service, they have like a Biogen, they have the concierge for if you want to get theater tickets. They have all these different things because they know that you're not leaving your desk, but they want to make, and when you do leave your desk, they want to make it easy for you. This makes sense in so many different ways.
Thank you, Jodi. Yeah, I know. So this is where so many people, especially the aging parent path, are trying to, and you and I have helped, we both lived this, right? Where we have aging relatives, we've had help. And when you can't be there next to them or you live states away, like my parents are in Pennsylvania, you want to be able just to click the button now. My poor father has had his Alzheimer's, but he's had 7 strokes. And every time my poor mother, she's worried this is this is it. This is gonna be horrible. But we're like, hit the button, hit the Gentreo button. You get his healthcare proxy, his medication list, his doctor's information. We put it all there for you, mom. Hit the button. And it makes such a difference though, because now while we can't be there next to her to run to the filing cabinet to try to find these things, throw through this, now she hits one button. At least she knows she's got everything all there and it's all together. And especially because COVID's not over yet, this is where people don't want to talk. Everybody's wearing masks. You're thinking about 10 different things. You're not thinking about, okay, did I get that medication list right? Did I get all this? It's just still a confusing time. And so as we help our parents and the folks that need care now, and it's not, well, I say it's like a baby, it's kind of, these aren't as happy things, right? A baby is going to be like, oh, the baby learned to walk. This is where, oh, dad had a fall today and he's going to need help. And so you really need that, what we call guardian angel. So you need that guardian angel approach. And this is where a lot of employers have started working with us, or like the folks at the credit union saying, you know what, it is more than just a one and done will. We really need to make sure that we're providing a Gentreo service to our clientele because we're going to help them save time, save money, and just a lot of the heartache and pain. And usually when we do best is when we start talking with someone and they're like, oh, I have a story for you. And they go down the story. And so the number of stories that people share with us are incredible, like just around what people have lived through. And they testify every day as to why folks need us.
I literally just had dinner with a friend last night and she talked about how like her mother has a severe dementia and She had to move her mother from a hospital and she was from a hospital, and then everyone's like, do you go to hospice? She's like, no, my mom doesn't need hospice. She needs long-term care. And then just going through the house, like finding things, like upstairs, down, like just literally her mom's memory was just like, I don't know, I don't remember. And literally it was like, she's like, I literally took forever to find anything because they were hidden in nooks and crannies of places in the house, and it was not okay. Wasn't okay.
No. And especially when you're in stress. And this is where we tell people, like, do this now while you're not in duress. Because most people are like, oh, I'll get to that tomorrow. Things are going to happen. This is where it's like, things are going to happen.
Yeah.
And so soon, I think it's later, it's the beginning of this next month, we're actually doing a whole Saturday where we're having our notary come in, who's also who's our estate planning attorney, to certify people's documents. And we're starting to give out badges and checklists to be like, okay, look, let us make you feel rewarded that you got this done, because you should feel good about this, because we can tell you that all the other folks that don't do this have stories just like the one you told, where I just wasted a week of my life trying to find this or to close this out, or I'm not going to get these proceeds. My friend, Chris Fry, who's one of our, who's a friend of mine, but also our head of business development, they found a life insurance policy tucked away in his grandmother's drawer. And or it's his mother's drawer actually, and they never knew she even had it. And so they're like, okay, that would have been $100,000 in life insurance lost. We never would have found. And so this is where he's like, if I had Gentreo, you know, you can just take these pictures of everything there, and then just feel good knowing that it's always there for you. So that's where we've won a lot of hearts with that, but then also going out to, whether it's the businesses, the employers, or the credit unions, and working with folks like that want to be there for their employees and clients, because they know that they're having too many people live through these sad stories, and they'd rather have it be as easy as possible for them.
I love it. I love it. So I'm going to continue with the last question that I ask everyone, because it's going to be the same one because it's different. If you had a personal, and I don't know, before that, where do you see the industry going? I mean, because now again, we're opening. Where do you see this industry that you're building out? We're living in a world of technology. The whole entire concept of wills, people don't even think about a will until it's too late. So where do you see the industry evolving? Because pandemic happened and younger, older people didn't see it coming, and they were getting sick, and their family members weren't prepared. So where do we go from here?
Yeah, we just did a bunch of user interviews with folks, and to make sure we ask that question, because we have opinions, but we want to make sure that we're not just convincing ourselves. But thankfully, folks agreed with us, because what they saw is that in the beginning, when we were asking some of the questions, they're like, okay, well, I can get my documents, it's one and done, and I'll feel good about that. Then when you start asking the questions around, well, can you find those? No. Or hey, do you and your wife, there's been a huge trend where, and do you guys share bank accounts? Do you have this information? No. Do you know about this? And so it's been this interesting thing where we're going to do some education modules with folks around understanding, you just failed epically. Like, you don't have the same accounts. You don't know this. You don't know this. So can we please get you over the hump to understand that you need to do some of these things? So for us, again, some more education, because for those folks who didn't suffer from COVID, or they knew the stories, there's still a little bit of convincing that people need to be doing some planning and getting going. And so what we do is we work with some of our partners to make sure that they have the tools there to be able to encourage people to understand what they're giving up if they don't make some of these choices, whether it's paying lots later or just the stress that they're inflicting on themselves. Because as they say, death and taxes, those are the two things that are going to happen.
No, I'm going to say no to that one, because whenever people say taxes, I'm like, in other countries, they don't pay taxes. And so, no.
Okay, in America.
And there's a lot of people that are, we know we don't know that we're going to be born, because I mean, it's a random moment. I go, we know we're going to die. That's clear as can be. But whenever
that unfortunately is true.
When people sit there and add tax, I'm like, there's a lot of people out there, and you've been reading about it. They're like, I'm going to choose not to pay taxes because I want to eat today.
No, and that part, like, that's one thing where I have to tell you, we've gotten, one of the partnerships that we have worked with lower income folks, And it's probably been one of the most rewarding partnerships that I've seen, because the help that we've gotten to provide these families with, just around making sure now that they have those healthcare proxies, and
Yeah.
so many, and and this is not a, it's just my guess, but it seemed disproportionately were affected by
Yeah.
COVID and some of these communities, and they just weren't ready. And
Yeah.
then the decisions that they were having to make, spot on to what you're talking about, right? Do I want to eat today? Do I want to do this? And so what we're trying to figure out is, okay, how do we get to some of these communities in the way that we can at least give them the basic resources so that they can be prepared and not have to give up choices that they should get, that these are real choices. Like if they want a ventilator, right? Or if they
Yeah.
want not, that this isn't, something that, everybody, for us, you don't wake up knowing what the heck a healthcare proxy is, right?
Yeah.
You just don't, no one should know these things. Even my mother, who has us as children, who lecture on this all the time,
Mhm.
she hits the wrong button. She has this, she's like, I'm gonna get this, it's gonna get this. And we're just like, but it's a good test case, right? Because you realize that this is all of us who don't study estate planning and you have to live it all the time. You need to be able to make sure that it's really easy to use and that it's affordable for folks, because otherwise, they tell the story of one of the folks we had worked with who said, "Oh yeah, I went to an estate planning attorney. I was going to do this, get all this ready, and then they said it was going to be $2,500." And I said, "Okay, well, what'd you do?" And I walked out. I'm like, "Did you do anything?" Like, no. And
Yeah.
so we're like, "Okay, look, but we got to get you into where we get you the basics. Let's get going, and then later we need you to be able to find those documents. We need you to be able to connect to the services." And so one of the things we just did a partnership with is around funeral planning and making
Yeah.
sure people, for their parents especially, do they understand what their parents want? Are those plans in place? Are they,
Mhm.
so eFuneral and Gentreo, we've done some really exciting things together just around making sure the people, again, lay everything out, put it all there, that it's easy to find and done.
But you know what? It's easy for you to say that, and we talked about this before. My dad had everything planned where it's like, because when I die, all you have to do is like just like eat, like literally, like I mean, I paid for everything, everything's done. Here's the folder. Like I go flowers. I mean, like I never ever miss a beat. When I'm in Florida, the most beautiful arrangement of flowers from Michael's. I mean, because it's like he's in a crypt, and I literally take time and I design something because that's all he wanted. It was like, just make sure there are pretty flowers, and I will, to the day that I can't anymore, I will always design the most outlandishly beautiful thing for his crypt. I go to Michael's and I spend hours at Michael's to find the right things, that colors, etc. But my mother, for my grandmother, she waited. I'm like, I go, when you wait, you make impulsive decisions. And the funeral business is a legit business. I mean, because they run off of emotion. I mean, and when you're getting a obituary in the Boston Globe versus a local paper, and I'm like, I'm sorry, it's how much money to put it a little blip, and oh yeah, but we'll put it online too. I could put it on Facebook and get more people than your reach. So it is one of those moments where when you're saying to anyone from any background, just to know the information, because the second someone dies, it's impulsive. Everything is impulsive. Everything's emotional. Family members, siblings. I mean, it gets crazy so fast.
Oh, okay, I love you. You're gonna come to yes. No, this is, people don't get that. And this is where we're like, okay, you can work with us and make it easy and pretty affordable, or you can wait till that happens and lose the $100,000 life insurance that you didn't know you had, spend the $10,000 on this that you didn't know you were going to spend. So it's one of those things where I wish it's still that secret sauce of how do you get people convinced that they need to do these things. And so that's where, again, working with the folks that we've gotten a chance to work with, whether it's through the employers or through some of the credit unions and folks like that, they're really great partners for us in making sure that they get people like, okay, let's check those boxes. Let's hold your hand, and we're going to make sure that we're going to check those boxes and get this done. Because originally, before when COVID started, 80% of Americans hadn't done anything around estate planning.
Yeah.
And that's an incredible number to believe, because then you leave your family with all kinds of issues and heartache and pain. So that's why we've gotten to grow a lot, is that people unfortunately live some of that heartache and pain. And usually we still see, because when someone joins some Gentreo digital vault, they're like, oh, I see that now I have access to my brother's healthcare proxy. I should do this. I should do that. And it's state specific. So we do a lot around making sure that people understand, no matter what state you are, let's get you down the right set of documents and then services around that, and kind of put it all together in one place.
I think that's one of the things that I love the most about what you're doing. I just love you to death anyway. So that's just like, just put that out there.
Same here.
But
I always want your energy. I want Jodi.
And this is like, this is me without coffee. I gave up. I was drinking coffee just because I don't need it, because of obviously my energy has always been consistent. But then I'm like, I go for Lent. I'm like, I'm gonna give up coffee because the caffeine headaches aren't even worth it. Like, it's not even worth it. But yeah. But anyway, I love what you're doing, because it is so people don't gravitate towards you because they associate it with death, and people are afraid of death. People are just so afraid of the concept of that. With my dad, he was never afraid of the death part. He was, because he was a planner, and he loves to plan. He loved to plan flower rows. He liked to plan the house colors, and he liked to plan. So for him, the empowerment, and maybe it was an ego thing, the empowerment of like, yeah, that pillow feels better than that pillow. I'm going to forever lay on that pillow. Great. The cushioning in the coffee, great. Wow, so I think that for him, just the control over seeing everything. And I think that once people take the fear away and the death part away, they're thinking sensibly. And for you going out there and educating people, and for the sensible part is, I think, what is having people gravitate towards you more. And businesses seeing how their business is faltering, and they're like, we're giving you a resource to educate you, to like make sure that you have the best buying power for everything that you do. And I think that education is going to be by far your greatest tool, because you're fighting education versus fear.
Yes. That's exactly right. And this is where people are like, oh, so you handle all the death stuff. And we're like, no, we do the planning part. We're the planners. And so I love it. Your father would be the exact role model for everybody. Right? We're the planners. If you want to save money and you want to make sure your decisions are made and then don't go to courts and cost your family all this heartache and pain, we're the planners. And we're like, we want you to live, right? This is where we want you to make sure that you have all your decisions made, and that they're in a place where people who can help you make those and get those made can find them. That's what we're about. And then, unfortunately, like you said, we're all going to die someday, but there's usually a long road to getting there. And we want to help you along that road.
Yeah. So I want to help you along that road, not the dying part, but I want to help you along the road of getting more people. No, I mean, this is why I'm going to keep saying it. Before, when I was talking to you last year, I go, oh yeah, well, I'll check in to see how you are. This is going to be a continuous conversation where whenever something pops up, I'm just going to call you guys out. I'm like, hey, let's talk about this, because more and more people need to understand that, again, small businesses, entrepreneurs, innovators are the ones that have a lot of the answers. 85% of the world's economy is small businesses, entrepreneurs, and innovators and startups. And people are relying so much on the large, and we love the large companies. I mean, a lot of large companies started from small, but a lot of the questions that are being answered are from individuals that are with the people every single day, making sure that we're taking care of their needs and making sure that they're educated to understand we're doing this for you.
Yeah, I think that's the right way to do it, right? And those of us who learn from personal examples and stories have the best to offer, because we've all lived it and we know it. And that's my dog. Okay, wait. I want to leave it. Oh my gosh, we do such an incredible pet side. Like, we do some pet stuff around pet powers of attorney and making sure pets are protected. And it's actually one of the best. Like, I have to tell you, I enjoy that part, because people send us the cutest pet pictures, and they want to make sure their pet's being taken care of by their babysitter, and the babysitter can make things. So Butter, who you just heard in the background, is often the model that Gentreo uses.
I do love how Butter, Q, come in, bark right now. And then we're going to talk about the dogs. I thought that was great.
Yeah, and thankfully, sometimes when you're on Zoom calls, you want to make sure either you show up as Liam the Best, because your son last night had a Cub Scout call and named himself Liam the Best, or your dog pops up and is like, okay. But the good news is everybody's kind of gotten used to that, right? So you don't have to apologize anymore. You're just this is the world we're living now, and it is what it is. So let's go.
It is what it is. And what I love about it is we're all transparent. This is who I am. This is my world that I'm living in. So I love it. All right, so last question, which of course everyone now knows the last question is, if you had a personal ask and a professional ask, because it's the whole year difference, what would be your personal ask and what would be your professional ask?
So I think I'll start with the professional side, but because we've been so successful with partners, and whether it's working with employers or some of the credit unions, that if people can introduce us to more folks that could appreciate that from the partnership aspect, that's how we've been growing, and really just want to make sure that we continue to build. And we're so grateful to the partners that we've had. We've just met such special people along the way that it's just, we end up becoming fast friends with a lot of the partners and stuff, because you want to work with people that you trust and that you like. And so we've been lucky. But if people can refer us to other employers or benefits providers, things like that, love that. And then on the personal side, we're hiring a few folks, and the reason that, even though it's associated with business, I want to sleep at night. So I really we need some really good folks to go out and work with some of the businesses and other things bringing on Gentreo. So if you can put that out there, that gentreo.com, if you could go ahead and let people know that, email us, let us know, because we need some more staff, please.
I love it. You are hiring. Yes, you're hiring. And yes, we do. Yes, we do. I'm with you with the whole entire sleep thing. I know daylight savings is coming soon enough, and that's
okay. I would eliminate those. That's just an aside, but can we just get rid of those two things? Like,
what?
My husband's from Arizona. Daylight savings. My husband's from Arizona, and they don't celebrate it out there. And once I showed up for a truck event one time, and it was early, but like at the train event, it would be one of those things where I that's just an aside, but I would get rid of it.
But wait, so if you're gonna get rid of it, which side do you want to be on? Because I get up early. I mean, I get up at 4:25. I mean, I'm an early bird. I love that, going out for a run, quiet time. The world is quiet for me before my international clients are up. So which side do you want to be on? Do you want to be on this time zone, the ED? Look, wait, are we on Eastern Standard Time or Eastern Daylight Time? Look, which one do you want? Because I want to go on I want the sun up like bright and early. I just love it.
Okay, I'm on the other side, but I will tell you though, if they pick one or the other, I can do it. I will become one like you.
I just want longer days. I mean, the sun will do. I mean, from my window, I can see her shifting clearly, but I just want the longer days. But it's not the longer days because of the time zone. It's the longer days because of the sun. So yeah, I just kind of want I want the other time.
Okay, you're pretty convincing. Okay, I like that. Yeah, no, this is pretty good.
I know people complain, they're like, oh, the kids are at the school. The kids are going to school in the dark. I'm like, when? I did that too back in the day. Like, so.
Okay, this is where we're showing our age a little bit. It's like, yeah, okay, been there too. So, I just
for all the people that are just mad at me because I just said that, I'm like, I know you're mad at me. I get it. Renee, thank you.
I love talking to you, Jodi.
You are so fabulous.
No, thank you. Truly, this has been so amazing. And I just want to give a shout out. Like, the last thing I want to say is that I never used to make a big point about like women entrepreneurs and things like that. But I have to tell you, that's one of the lessons I've learned, is that we're some of the only women leaders in our entire section of our space. And we think about things a little bit differently, and a little bit how we've lived through things. But I just want to give a shout out to all the folks that have supported, like the Babs and Win Lab, the Women Innovating Now, and things like that, because really it's something that really, and Shoebox has an underrepresented founders program too, where they'll give you Shoebox for free or at a really great discounted price. But I want to make sure I say thank you last two, because having women entrepreneurs, I think, adds a lot to our ecosystem and makes us better as an economy, not just today, but tomorrow too. So that's my last thing. So thank you, Jodi.
I'm gonna piggyback on that one, is the fact that because of COVID, so many women left their jobs, and yes, you're gonna see a lot of entrepreneurs come out of that, because you did not allow me to keep my job and keep my family, and my family will always take number one priority for a lot of people. And so now I'm going to create, with the skills that I have, I'm going to create something.
I love it. And this is where, and we've brought on a couple of new employees too, a number of who are women too, saying, well, I have to do this, but I have to struggle this. And we're like, you know what? So do we. So welcome on board, because it's like my sister spent the last year living down with my dad and my mom, and my dad has his Alzheimer's, like I mentioned. My son, we've gone down there, we switch around. It's like, we make it work. right?
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to, is, and not just make it work, we do better than that, we exceed. So it's like, let's do this.
There's like a totally badass woman that I just like interviewed from Randolph, Mass. She owns a printing shop, Jessica. And she said, I love this quote that her grandmother said. She's like, when you want something done, give it to a busy person.
I love it, right? Because I just told that one of the young women that just started with, I said, okay, well, you know what? I know you're busy, but that's because we know you get it done. So thank you. So 100% agree.
Awesome. All right, my honey. Until next time.
All right. Thanks, Jodi. Take care.
All right. Bye,
Bye.
Renee.